She thought her mother's memory loss was just part of aging, until a VHS tape appeared, labeled with her own name, and a forgotten house in the woods unlocked a past no one was supposed to remember. This isn't a ghost story. This is what happens when something you've buried comes back, not to haunt you but to finish what it started. Westbrook had always been quiet. Located between dense forests and steep hills, it was a place where time seemed to move slowly. For years, the town had been a safe haven for those looking to escape the noise and chaos of the outside world. The town's rhythm was simple: farmers working the land, families raising children, and the occasional visit to the library. It was peaceful, uneventful, and, until recently, unnoticed. At the heart of this tranquil town was the small, weathered library. It stood on the corner of Main Street, a single-story brick building that had witnessed decades of history. The library was Nora Benton's domain. A young woman in her late 20s, Nora had become the soul of the library over the years. She had an infectious passion for books, and she treated every visitor with a warmth that made them feel at home. Her laugh was often heard echoing through the aisles as she recommended the perfect read for anyone who walked through the door. To the residents of Westbrook, Nora wasn't just the librarian. She was a friend, a confidant, and a constant in an otherwise predictable life. But one cold November evening, Nora Benton disappeared without a trace. It had started like any other night. The library was closing up, and Nora was finishing the last few tasks of the day, arranging a new batch of donated books, checking the late-night return shelf, and tidying the reading nook. The soft hum of the fluorescent lights and the rustle of pages were the only sounds that filled the otherwise silent library. It was nearly 9 p.m. when Nora texted her friend Maria to confirm that she would be heading home soon. "I'll be out of here in 10, she wrote. But those 10 minutes came and went, and Nora never left. Maria, concerned by the delay, decided to check on her friend. She lived just a few blocks from the library, and it was unusual for Nora to stay so late without letting anyone know. When she arrived, the library lights were still on, but there was no sign of Nora. The door was unlocked, which wasn't typical after hours. Inside, the library was eerily quiet. Maria called out, her voice bouncing off the high ceilings and the empty rows of bookshelves. "Nora?" she asked, walking deeper into the building. "You still here?" The only response was the faint sound of the wind outside, rattling the windows. Maria checked the back office, where Nora kept her personal belongings. Her jacket was still hanging on the hook, her purse was on the desk, and her phone was charging on the counter. But Nora was nowhere to be found. It wasn't like her to leave without saying a word, let alone without her phone or jacket. Maria's heart began to race as she dialed Nora's number. The phone rang and rang but went straight to voicemail. She tried again. And again. Still no answer. Panic crept in as Maria hurried through the library, calling Nora's name. She rushed outside, checking around the building and looking for any sign of her friend. But there was nothing. No car. No footprints in the snow that had begun to fall lightly over the pavement. No clue as to where Nora had gone or why she had left in such a hurry. Maria's mind raced. She called the police. Detective Erica Hayes was assigned to the case. She was an experienced investigator, sent to Westbrook after the local authorities found themselves stumped. The town had never seen anything like this before, a disappearance without a trace, a vanishing without explanation. When Erica arrived at the library, she immediately noted the strange emptiness in the air. There were no signs of struggle. No broken windows. No doors left ajar. Nora's desk was untouched, her files neatly stacked. It was as if she had simply vanished. The only clue was a faint, almost imperceptible smell of something burning, but it wasn't coming from inside the library. The air was thick with the scent of fresh snow and pine, the cold outside creeping into the building. Erica scanned the room for any possible evidence. She pulled out a pair of gloves and carefully examined Nora's desk. She found a notebook with pages marked by frantic, handwritten notes, but most of the writing didn't make sense. One page, however, caught her eye. It was a drawing of the town's layout with a circled area near the edge of the forest. A house. Abandoned. The markings on the page seemed to be drawn hastily, with dark lines that looked more like a warning than anything else. The detective's brow furrowed as she studied the drawing. It wasn't much, but it was a lead. She took a photo of the page before moving on. Her next stop was the phone. She found it charging on the counter just as Maria had described. But when she checked the call history, she saw something strange. A call had been made just an hour before Nora had disappeared. The call lasted only a few seconds and the number was private. No name, no record, just the untraceable digits. Erica tried to call the number back, but as expected, it was disconnected. It felt like the phone call had been a warning, like someone had known she was close to uncovering something. As the hours passed, the town grew more anxious. Residents gathered in small groups outside the library, whispering about the disappearance. Some murmured about the strange occurrences in the town, things that had happened long before Nora's vanishing. There were rumors about a cursed house, hidden deep in the woods, and an ancient evil that haunted the place. No one could ever provide evidence, but the stories persisted. The detective couldn't dismiss the rumors. Something didn't feel right. Nora had clearly uncovered something that had scared her enough to run off into the woods without a trace. The question was, what? Erica gathered a team to search the area around the library. They combed through the woods, using searchlights to cut through the thick dark. The snow had covered most of the tracks, but there was one set of footprints that seemed to lead into the trees. As they followed the trail, they came upon an old, weather-beaten gate. The house was dark, but there was something strange about the air around it. Cold. Unnatural. As the team approached, Erica felt her stomach tighten. There was something undeniably ominous about this place. And then, as if on cue, a figure appeared at the window of the house, just for a split second. Erica froze. It wasn't Nora. The figure was tall, cloaked in shadow, and it stared out at them for only an instant before vanishing from sight. The detective's pulse quickened. She didn't know what she was dealing with, but one thing was certain. This was no ordinary disappearance. And whatever Nora had uncovered, it was far more dangerous than anyone could have imagined. Alex Carter couldn't shake the sense of dread that had gripped him when Lena Marshall handed him Maya's journal. He hadn't known Maya well, just enough to recognize her smiling face at the town's events. But now, with this journal in his hands, the weight of her last words seemed to press down on him like a heavy stone. The door had slammed shut behind him, and Alex had heard nothing but the eerie hum of silence. He glanced around, his mind racing, trying to process what had just happened. Was it a warning? Or was someone playing a sick game? He snapped back to the journal, flipping through the pages, desperate for more clues. The handwriting was slanted and rushed, as if Maya had written her thoughts in a panic. It wasn't like her to be so hasty, so worried. The first entry read, "I found something. Something I shouldn't have. And I think they're watching me." He turned the page to the next entry, dated only a few days before Maya's disappearance. "The dreams have gotten worse. At night, I hear whispers, strange and distant, but they're calling my name. I don't know if I'm imagining it or if something is really happening, but I can't ignore it anymore. There's something hidden here, something buried in Cliffside Bay's history." A cold shiver ran down Alex's spine. Maya's suspicions seemed grounded in some unknown terror lurking beneath the surface of this small town. But what could be buried so deep that even the locals didn't know about it? Why had Maya been so afraid? With a sense of growing urgency, Alex read on. "I found a map, old, crumpled, hidden behind the library shelves where no one would ever look. It's marked with red X's, places I've never seen before. I think it's leading to something, but what? I'm not sure I want to know. Whatever it is, it's dangerous. But I can't stop. I need to understand." Alex took a deep breath. A map. Hidden behind the shelves. Maya had been piecing something together. But was it connected to her disappearance? Or had she uncovered something far darker, something better left hidden? The noise outside the door grew louder, drawing his attention. Footsteps again. But this time they weren't distant. They were right outside his room, slow and deliberate. Alex stiffened, his heart pounding in his chest. Could someone be watching him now, just like Maya feared? A soft knock echoed on the door. "Alex." It was Lena, her voice trembling. "You need to see this." Alex's hands shook as he pushed the journal aside and stood up. He opened the door to find Lena standing there, her face pale and strained, her eyes wide with a mixture of fear and disbelief. "What's going on?" Alex asked, trying to mask the growing anxiety in his voice. Lena didn't speak at first. She simply handed him an envelope, sealed with a wax stamp that Alex didn't recognize. It was old-fashioned, and the paper felt like something straight out of a historical archive. "I don't know what to make of it," Lena whispered, glancing nervously over her shoulder as if she feared being watched. "It was left on my doorstep this morning. No return address, no note, just this." Alex felt a chill seep into his bones as he carefully opened the envelope. Inside was a folded piece of paper. It wasn't a letter but a drawing, sketched with dark, careful lines. At the center of the image was a strange, unmarked symbol, one that looked vaguely familiar, but Alex couldn't quite place it. Around the symbol were 4 names, written in block letters, each one connected to a series of lines leading to the center. And one of the names was Maya's. What is this? Alex whispered, his voice barely audible. Who would do this? Lena shook her head. I don't know. But this is connected to Maya's investigation. I'm sure of it. He nodded, still studying the drawing. The symbol. The names. What was this all about? I need to talk to someone, Alex said, his voice steadying. Someone who might know more about the history of this town. The library, there's got to be something there. Be careful, Lena cautioned, grabbing his arm. I don't think you realize how deep this goes. It's not just about Maya anymore. This is bigger than both of us. But Alex was already turning away, determination settling in. Whatever this was, whatever dark force was pulling strings behind the scenes, he needed answers. He had to know what had happened to Maya, and why the town seemed to be hiding something. The early morning fog clung to the town of Cliffside Bay as Alex Carter made his way to the local library. The streets were quiet, eerily so. Most of the town's residents had yet to start their day, and the only sounds were the soft whispers of the wind and the occasional creak of an old building. But despite the tranquility, Alex couldn't shake the unsettling feeling that the very ground he walked on was hiding something sinister. The envelope in his pocket felt heavier with each step he took. The strange symbol, the drawing, and Maya's name, all of it had to mean something. But what? And why hadn't anyone else seen what was so painfully clear to him? Lena's warning echoed in his mind, this is bigger than both of us. But Alex didn't have time for fear. He had to find the truth, even if it meant confronting the darkness that had clearly been buried in this town for generations. As he entered the library, the familiar smell of old paper and dust filled the air. The librarian, Mrs. Langston, looked up from her desk, her sharp eyes narrowing as she recognized Alex. Back again, Mr. Carter? She asked, her voice clipped and distant. Alex nodded, pushing down his growing unease. I need to look through the town archives again, Mrs. Langston. Something's not right here. The librarian's expression faltered, her lips pressing into a thin line. For a moment, Alex thought she might say something that would confirm the unease he felt. But instead, she simply motioned toward the back of the library. The archives are in the basement as always. But I warn you, be careful with what you search for. Some things are better left undisturbed. Alex barely registered her words. He had already made up his mind. He had to see the records, any connection to Maya's disappearance or the strange symbols. He couldn't stop now. Descending the narrow staircase into the basement, Alex was met with the musty smell of old books, the air thick with the weight of untold stories. The room was dimly lit by a single flickering light bulb hanging from the ceiling, casting shadows on the rows of dusty shelves. He scanned the shelves, searching for anything that could give him the answers he needed. His eyes landed on a worn leather-bound ledger. Its cover was cracked, and it looked like it hadn't been touched in years. Alex pulled it from the shelf, carefully opening the pages. The entries were old, dating back to the early 1900s. But there, at the bottom of one page, was a name that caught his attention. Clara Montgomery. The name was underlined several times, as though someone had gone to great lengths to emphasize its importance. Alex's pulse quickened as he read the entry. Clara Montgomery was the last to see the missing children. After her disappearance, the town's history was altered forever. The events that followed remain shrouded in mystery, but there are whispers of a pact, something buried beneath the surface of Cliffside Bay. The rest of the entry was too faded to read clearly, but Alex's mind raced. Missing children? A pact? This was it. This was what Maya had uncovered. His heart thudded in his chest as he flipped to the next page. And there it was again, the same symbol. The same one from the drawing left on Lena's doorstep. Beneath the symbol were 4 names, including Clara Montgomery's, with the same red XS marking their locations. This couldn't be a coincidence. The townspeople knew something, but they were keeping it hidden. Maya had been on the verge of something that could tear the whole town apart. Suddenly, the hairs on the back of Alex's neck stood up. He heard footsteps above him, slow and deliberate, as though someone was walking around the library. Mrs. Langston? He called, but his voice echoed in the silence, unanswered. The footsteps continued, but they weren't above him. They were coming from behind. Turning quickly, Alex's breath caught in his throat. There, standing in the doorway of the basement, was a tall figure cloaked in shadows. The figure didn't move, didn't speak. But Alex could feel the weight of its gaze. Who's there? Alex demanded, his voice shaking. The figure remained silent, unmoving. Alex's heart raced as the figure stepped forward, revealing a face, pale, gaunt, with hollow eyes that seemed to bore into him. It was a face he didn't recognize, but it was a face that sent a chill down his spine. The figure's lips parted slowly, and in a voice so cold it sent tremors through Alex's entire body, it spoke. "You should have left it alone." Before Alex could react, the figure turned and disappeared into the shadows, vanishing as quickly as it had appeared. Alex stood frozen, his breath caught in his throat. What the hell had just happened? Who was that? And why had they said that? "You should have left it alone." His mind raced as he hurriedly gathered the ledger and rushed up the stairs. But when he emerged from the basement, the library was as quiet as it had been before. No footsteps. No shadow. No sign of the figure. It was as if nothing had happened at all. "Mrs. Langston?" Alex called again, but she didn't answer. She was nowhere to be found. He stepped outside into the crisp air, trying to make sense of what he had just experienced. That figure, it couldn't have been real, could it? But the terror in his gut told him otherwise. Someone, or something, was watching him. Someone who didn't want the truth to come out. Alex glanced down at the ledger in his hands, the heavy weight of its secrets pressing down on him. He had to go back to Lena. She needed to see this. They were getting closer. But as he made his way to her house, he couldn't shake the feeling that something was about to happen. Something terrible. As he reached the front door of Lena's house, the same feeling of dread washed over him. The door was slightly ajar, and there was no sign of movement inside. "Lena?" Alex called, pushing the door open slowly. But there was no answer. Inside everything seemed off. The air was thick with tension and the house felt unnaturally still. His instincts screamed at him to turn around, but he couldn't leave now, not with the pieces of the puzzle finally starting to come together. And then, as he stepped further into the house, the door slammed shut behind him. As Alex and Lena find themselves entangled in something far more dangerous than they could have imagined. With the secrets of Cliffside Bay unraveling, Alex is about to face a terrifying choice. Continue digging deeper or run before it's too late. Will Alex and Lena survive the truth, or will they become the next victims of the town's dark past? The air felt colder as Emma and Detective Reyes stood before the old house. The structure loomed at the edge of the woods like a memory trying to be forgotten. Its wood was rotted, the shutters broken, and ivy crawled across its frame like long bony fingers trying to pull it back into the earth. But what made the house truly disturbing wasn't how it looked, it was that it shouldn't exist. The property records showed nothing. No permits, no ownership, no history. According to the town's registry, this place didn't belong to anyone. It wasn't even supposed to be here. "Are you sure this is it?" Reyes asked, his voice tight. Emma nodded slowly. "This is where my mom said she went the night everything changed." They stepped closer. The wooden steps creaked under their weight, threatening to snap with each movement. The front door was unlocked. As Reyes pushed it open, the hinges groaned like a warning. Inside, the air was heavy with dust and the scent of decay. Torn furniture lay scattered around. Old picture frames lined the fireplace mantel, their photographs faded to the point of being unrecognizable, except for one. Emma froze. The photo showed a woman, young with warm eyes and a familiar smile. It was her mother, much younger, standing next to a man Emma had never seen before. "What is this?" she whispered. Reyes pulled the photo closer, brushing away dust. On the back, scribbled in blue ink, was a note. "The beginning and the end. 1996. "That's the year she started forgetting," Emma said. "The first panic attack, the first missing time." Reyes glanced at her. Someone wanted her to forget. Someone did something here. They explored further, pushing past the decaying furniture and cobwebs. In the back of the house, they found a locked door leading down to the basement. It took Reyes 3 kicks to break it open. The smell hit them first, musty, metallic, and wrong. As they descended, the air grew heavier. Emma covered her nose with her sleeve. At the bottom, the flashlight revealed what looked like an old study, shelves lined with books, strange symbols carved into the wooden floor, and pinned to one of the walls, pages from a journal. Emma's mother's handwriting filled each page. One entry read, "They said I would forget. That was the deal. But I keep seeing the girl in the mirror. She's not me, but she wears my face." Another, "The house only appears to those who look too closely. It's watching. It's waiting." Emma's heart pounded as she looked around. What did my mom get herself into? Suddenly Reyes called her over. He had found a door behind a bookshelf, hidden, narrow. It led to a smaller chamber sealed with a sliding panel. The moment they opened it, they both stepped back. Inside were dozens of VHS tapes, stacked neatly on a dusty shelf. Each one was labeled by year. The earliest dated back to 1987. The latest? Emma Caldwell, 2023. Emma's breath caught. That's this year. Reyes stared at the tape in silence. Why would there be a tape of you? You've never been here before. He inserted the tape into a dusty old player that sat beneath the shelf. The screen flickered. At first just static. Then, Emma's face, clear, close up. She was sitting in what looked like her own bedroom. But she wasn't alone. A dark figure stood behind her in the shadows. Not touching. Not speaking. Just watching. The Emma on the screen seemed unaware. Emma's hands began to shake. That's my room. That's me. I didn't know anyone was filming me. The image shifted. The dark figure stepped forward, and for a moment, its face became visible, distorted, featureless, like a mask stretched too tight over a skull. Reyes shut the tape off. The silence that followed felt like a scream waiting to happen. What is this? He muttered. Emma turned to him, voice barely audible. We need to leave. But as they moved toward the stairs, something shifted in the house. The front door upstairs slammed shut and the walls seemed to groan. The floorboards began creaking above them, slow footsteps pacing the length of the house. They weren't alone anymore. Reyes drew his flashlight, aiming it toward the narrow hallway that led back upstairs. Stay behind me. But before they could take a step, the basement light flickered, and then blew out. Total darkness. Emma gripped Reyes' sleeve. What's happening? Then from the hallway a sound, laughter. Oh, childlike. And then a whisper. You shouldn't have come here. In the heart of a house that officially never existed, with tapes of moments that were never recorded, Emma and Detective Reyes have uncovered something far beyond their understanding. But the question remains. Is this just a forgotten part of history, or the start of something that never ended? Emma could barely breathe. The flashlight flickered in Reyes' trembling hand, casting erratic shadows along the basement walls. The whisper still echoed in her mind, you shouldn't have come here. And then silence. No more laughter. No creaking steps. Just the kind of stillness that doesn't feel empty, but full. As if the house itself were holding its breath. Emma clutched Reyes' arm. We need to get out of here. Now. Reyes nodded and they crept toward the stairs. Each step upward creaked louder than the last. When they reached the ground floor, the door to the outside was wide open, just as quickly as it had slammed shut. They didn't question it. They ran. Out into the cold night air. The forest surrounding the house seemed quieter now, less menacing. But something in Emma still felt heavy. As if the house had taken something from her, and it wasn't done yet. They didn't speak on the drive back to town. The next morning, Emma sat on the edge of her hotel bed, staring at the VHS tape they'd taken. Emma Caldwell, 2023. She hadn't slept. The image of the faceless figure behind her haunted every blink. She couldn't stop wondering, how long had it been watching her? And why? Reyes arrived with coffee. His face looked drained, his eyes hollow. I spoke with someone at the county records office, he said, handing her the cup. The land that house sits on was condemned in 1989. A fire wiped out a small compound there. No survivors. The official report says it was an occult group. They all vanished before the fire. Emma raised an eyebrow. What do you mean vanished? They were all declared dead, Reyes replied. But no bodies were ever found. Just ashes. And their leader? He was known for claiming he could mark souls through time. Said the mind forgets what the spirit never forgives. Emma shivered. My mother. The panic attacks. The memory gaps. Do you think she was marked? Reyes didn't answer. You didn't have to. Emma returned to her mother's care home. She brought the tape. Part of her hoped it would trigger something. A memory. A reaction. She played the VHS in the room. Her mother stared at the screen, silent. And then tears welled in her eyes. Not from fear but recognition. I remember now, she whispered. I made a deal. I asked to forget, but it didn't go away. Emma leaned in. What was it, Mom? What did you forget? Her mother looked at her, truly looked. It followed me. And now it's following you. That night, Emma stayed in her hotel alone. She replayed the footage again. Frame by frame. Looking for clues. Answers. Something that would explain why her life had been tethered to a haunted house, a missing memory, and a cult that died decades ago. Then, she noticed something. In the corner of the video behind her dresser mirror was not just the figure, but a second one. Smaller. Hidden in the shadows. Watching the watcher. Her blood ran cold. Was it her? Was she watching herself? Or was something else copying her? The screen flickered again. Just before the tape ended, it froze, And then a voice, distorted but unmistakably hers, whispered, "It remembers, even if you don't." Emma scrambled back, yanking the tape from the player. She could feel it. Not just fear, but something else. Something alive. 1 month later, Emma left the town. She cut ties. Changed her number. Burned the tape. But sometimes when she's brushing her teeth, she swears she sees someone standing behind her in the mirror. Someone with her face. Smiling. Not moving. Just watching. Reyes moved to another state. He never talks about the case again. And the house. It's gone. No one can find it. The path that led them there? Overgrown. Still. As if the land finally swallowed its secret. But deep in the forest, some hikers say they've heard something. Not voices. Not cries. Just laughter. Some stories aren't meant to be told. Some memories stay buried for a reason. But for Emma Caldwell, the truth wasn't just lost. It was waiting. And now that it's been remembered, it may never let her forget.